round. There we are. 3, 4, 5 red lights. Long hold, but it is lights out, and away we go then for the Hungarian Grand Prix. And it looks as though Connor's had a good start here. Briggsy bogging down a little bit on the traction, but look at that, the Haas of McEwen out of nowhere, splitting the two drivers and into the lead. Briggsy losing not one but two positions as he looks to go round the outside of Connor at turn 1, and he's going to be going side by side now into turn 2, and he's going down the inside. I think he's got back up into P2, so it's not the end of the world, but yeah, not a brilliant start then from Briggsy, who ever since we mentioned he got good starts hasn't really seemed to be getting them. Little bit of action going on behind with Bowen. I think that was going very well.
Dylan just went around the outside of Sam at turn 4. What a move.
Wow, what a move then from Dylan, making moves early on. I think it's been a relatively clean start, Rando.
Yeah, remarkably clean. Legendary seemed to at one point look like he was getting swallowed up. Because Bennett, and I told him I wouldn't mention anything to a traction control, but yeah, got an amazing start now, up to P8 on the hards.
Oh, 5 positions is Bennett. Yeah, brilliant start. That goes up right up there with McEwen's start, and Ranger as well, up 2 positions apiece for the pair of them. So yeah, fantastic start, but Bennett is under pressure though from Brindy, who's on the softs. Brindy down 3 positions himself, so we've maybe put a bit of a jinx on him, but here we go, right on the back then of Bennett, using the battery, and the battery is quite difficult to manage around here. Achoo! Down the inside into turn 1 goes the Williams driver. Pretty easy move. I don't think Bennett's really challenging it too much. His job here is to probably just try and retain his position and keep as close to the softs runners as possible, as he is actually past 2 of them, them being his teammates of Clock and Danny, who's currently in 11th. But yeah, fantastic start from Bennett nevertheless, but it is McEwen leading the race in the opening exchanges after a fantastic start.
I feel like very quickly this is going to turn into a who's going to undercut when kind of race, as we expected. I'm just watching. Dylan seems to be, as of yet, on pace with this little Clock legendary train. He looked like he was going to make a move and then thought better of it, probably the wiser decision. And then in terms of that, it's very much going to follow the leader at the back here. With Dylan, I believe, lost the position to Sem on the line and Bennett, and then was able to get past Sem in turn 4.
Yeah, so Sem on the hards as well, but Bennett is the furthest up of the hard compound runners with a fantastic start. And in fact, he's keeping pretty decent touch, at least as of right now, to Brindy in P8, and Clock's not really been able to get that close to him. There's kind of 2 groups starting to form, though, as Bennett is losing a little bit of time to the top 8, and well, this is it really. It's kind of crunch time for these soft runners. They need to make the most of the tyres while they still have them in their hands as well. The longer they go and the longer we go into this race, they will just start overheating. We've got Lewis there just picking up a penalty already. There's warnings as well. They are quite tricky to keep on top of the track limits around here. There's quite a lot of runoff, so you tend to want to try and use it whilst you're pushing. But yeah, the stewards don't like that one. As yeah, Ranger's losing a little bit of touch to the top 5 as well, and he's got Liam and now Brindy as well joining in on trying to challenge him. Liam, in fact, losing out to Ranger off of the start. But yeah, we've got yeah, it is pretty much now the top 5 then in a group of their own, and then this 3 behind them. But Briggsy not really able to mount too much of a challenge to McEwen as it stands.
Yeah, it's all very much follow the leader at the back here. DRS obviously keeping, as I say, that legendary ghost
locked up on turn 1.
Yeah, very much follow the leader.
Locked up and Danny went for a move.
I would imagine that Dylan and Sem are just going to kind of hold station, not do anything stupid, and just wait for these guys to box. Bennett is probably the biggest gainer. Bennett or McEwen, biggest gainers out of that start for sure. McEwen's only dropped rating. Actually, I just noticed.
Yeah, I'd say McEwen definitely has gained a lot, like you say. I think Bennett's gained massively though. I mean, he's on the hards as well, and the nearest driver to him that's on any sort of different strategy is Dylan, who's a couple of places behind him. So Bennett's had a fantastic start, it has to be said. I think you're right though, these guys probably behind Danny, all just kind of having to wait it out and be patient. The tyres will come to them as the race goes on. It's probably best for these guys to manage their battery, keep that in check, keep the fuel as well, as it is quite well, guzzling down the fuel.
Oh, someone's round.
Bowen has spun. Yeah, that's Bowen on debut, so it's not going the right way for him at the moment. In fact, he's just stopped the car at turn on the exit at turn 13 there, so I'm not entirely sure what's going on with him. Sort of in a state of shock or something.
Silly Bonnie going for a minute on the pit.
Yeah, he's trying it down the inside, a little bit of contact wheel to wheel. At least one of us is awake and looking for these moves.
Oh, I just happened to capture. I've just noticed that Bennett's ERS, he's on 35%, whereas Dylan is on 85%. Just as a
I guess Bennett
comparison.
was maybe pushing to try and keep up with Brindy. In fact, he's actually right up with Brindy now. So Ranga's definitely the cork in the bottle, it would appear, for the guys outside of the top 5. Is Van Dorn just picking up a time penalty there. But yeah, as you say, McEwen has dropped to Rigsy, so that's slightly surprising given the pace. I wonder if Rigsy's maybe just managing the tyres. And in fact, Rigsy's in the pits already. So, well, we said the undercut's powerful, and he's gone for it. Has the Renault driver, then he's trying to make the most of the undercut. He was telling me earlier today that he was a bit annoyed that he got caught out by Brindy last week on the undercut, and he didn't want that to happen again. So he's being proactive rather than reactive this week, is Rigsy, and he's gone for the undercut onto the hards. They can go a long way in this race, can the hards, so he should be fine to the end. But yeah, that's an interesting one, because McEwen now leads the race by 2.2 seconds to SLR Connor.
That's going to hurt Connor, obviously not gaining the DRS for a lap. I'm just going through the ERSs in a rather sad way. Dylan and Sem have managed it incredibly well. Dylan, I'm not even sure if he knows what the overtake button is. Jeff's going to be reminding him soon, because he's on 90% ERS, hasn't used any, and is sitting remarkably comfortably behind these soft runners, almost playing the perfect waiting game, waiting to see how long it takes them all to pit, and then I assume using some of that near 100% battery to try and get an overcut on those soft runners.
Yeah, look at this. It's all aboard the Ranga train, and by the looks of things, I think he must be struggling with the tyres. McEwen, I think, is staying out for another lap, as is everyone, in fact. So no one pitting apart from Ranga. So Ranga's coming in as well. I think he'll be glad to see the back of the softs, as he did seem to be struggling for a bit of pace there. So he'll be coming in, most likely going on to the hards as well. As well, you can't really two-stop round here. It will kill you to two-stop, as it is so difficult to overtake. So yeah, Rigsy then being allowed to have at least a 2-lap undercut, as Bunny, I was trying to catch it and went the wrong way. He's been spun as he went for a move down into turn 1. I think he was going for a move on Lewis there, and he's just come off worse. He spun as we got a Haas off. I thought that was McEwen for a second. I think it's Bowen. So yeah, a bit unfortunate for him.
Bunny has come off, I believe, unscathed, other than some worn tyres. I mean, he doesn't appear to have any wing damage, but that's going to be his race well and truly messed up, to say the very least.
Bowen just spinning again. I mean, any sort of safety car right now would be awful for Rigsy's. Bowen's now been disqualified, part of the dangerous occasion, which is unfortunate for him, because I think he was just waiting to get out of everyone's way before he flipped the car back round, but he wasn't really able to do that. So yeah, that's a real shame for his debut to end like that, as we have now got McEwen in the pits, we've got Connor in the pits, we've got Jib Jab in, Van Dorn, the only driver then in that first little group, staying out. And this is really crunch time then. Is Rigsy going to be able to get the undercut done? He's not really used much of his battery, Rando. He's still on 76%. He's using it now, though, out the final corner. It's going to be nip and tuck. I think McEwen might have this one still, though. It's going to be very tight. They're going to be going almost side by side into turn 1, but no, they're not, because Rigsy is through. Rigsy then reclaiming the lead that he lost so early on in this race at the start. He's back through then into a net P1, but he's got McEwen right behind him and seemingly the faster driver of the two.
Indeed, actually, interesting enough, their ERS, obviously when you hit, you regain some of that battery, is almost level. So Rigsy has managed to undercut McEwen whilst not completely rinsing his battery. So that's going to enable him to defend far more easily than he otherwise would have been able to. And just another note, I was mentioning traffic earlier on, and Rigsy is already 1.8 behind Bunny.
Yeah.
But very quickly,
maybe
traffic's going to play a factor.
Well, yeah, maybe it's kind of a bit of a management phase then for Rigsy, as he will most likely just ease onto the back of Bunny. It looks as though Dylan's getting a bit frustrated as Clock has to stay out another lap. I say has to. It's not like he has to, because he's got free choice really of when to pit as his teammates on the hards. But yeah, Dylan, he keeps having a little look here and there on Clock, but he can't really get the move done. So it's now Bennett who takes the lead of the race on the hard compound tyres. As we've got Brindy and Van Dorn in the pits.
Ooh,
Dylan's going for it.
Yeah.
Down into turn 2, down the inside. What a move from Dylan. Caught Clock napping. And he's got it done. He's got into P2 and it's crunch time now for Dylan. He needs to probably catch and overtake Bennett pretty quickly because he's on mediums and Bennett's on hard. So it's still, I'd say Bennett's in a very nice position in this race. His Clock just picks up a time penalty there. And now he's got Sem and Lewis for company. I feel like Clock probably missed a trick there, not pitting the lap before. He's chosen to stay out another lap, and it seems to be costing him a little bit as we've got Lewis pushing Sem right through here. Sem on the hards, Lewis on the mediums. So it's an interesting one. I feel like some of these guys that started on the mediums towards the back maybe wasn't the best idea, because you've got the hard compound runners in between them, and it's so difficult to overtake around here that I think they're going to be struggling at the best of times. And so Lewis getting a bit wide there with the dirty air. Turn 12.
Yeah, Dylan's only saving grace really would be his far greater. He has nearly double Bennett's ERS. So that might make an overtake, if it comes, easier to achieve. See Bennett now on 15% ERS. So using it to try and get out of DRS range. But Sem being up against Clock, now out of DRS of Dylan. So this group, this quadrant of drivers here of Lewis, Sem, Dylan and Bennett are almost the only thing that could ruin Rigsy and McEwen's day at this point.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, Rando, look how much Clock's lost out there from just staying out a couple of extra laps. He's lost out massively. I was about to say someone take a picture, because we did have Brindy Boy in last momentarily, which is a rare sight. As Sem now picks up a time penalty as well. And these time penalties could really be crucial later on in this race. If we get a safety car towards the end, they could be detrimental, as it is pretty easy, as I say, to pick up a penalty around here. So I won't be surprised if we see a few guys getting, if not one, maybe even 2 or 3. But we'll wait to see. At the moment, not too bad on the penalty front, as we've got McEwen then still right on the back of Rigsy. He's about 60% of his battery. Rigsy has now started to use some, so I think it is probably just these guys now starting to settle into the race a bit more. McEwen obviously has the benefit of the DRS, so he's maybe not having to push his battery as much as Rigsy is, but he's not quite caught up to the back of Bunny as quickly as I thought he would have done, it has to be said, but he is still chipping away at the Mercedes driver, is Rigsy, and it's going to be crucial, I think, to his race. If he can get past Bunny and put a car in between himself and McEwen, that's really going to be possibly even the defining factor, as McEwen's really pushing Rigsy, it has to be said. He's within a few tenths of him as it stands, and we've also got Dylan within a few tenths of Bennett towards the front, as we see here.
It was a bit interesting there on the straight. Oh, Rigsy's got a pen.
Rigsy's got a penalty. There we go.
But yeah, just
said they could be crucial.
Straight there, Dylan was maybe 5 tenths behind and opted not to use any of his battery. So very much Dylan's thinking long game, and he's thinking, I'm using all of my battery once to get past him. I'm not going to use 10% every time and think, oh, I can't get past. Which I think he's going to have to do, considering the fact that he is in a hard tyre sandwich and is going to have to really have his thinking hat on if he wants to try and achieve something.
Yeah, the battery is relatively difficult to manage around here, especially if you're running on your own, but it seems as though Dylan's got it to a T at the moment, as again He's using a lot of it this time though, Rando, and I think he's going to go for the move down into turn 1, down the inside. Bennett struggling with his battery as the red light flashes, which shows that he's under 20%. Dylan there squeezing Bennett out on the exit, but he is through then, the Mercedes driver, into the lead of the race. As it stands, I think he's a net, well, I don't know where he is net, but he is in the lead as it stands anyway, as we say. As Riggsy has now caught up to the back of Bunny, so this will be crucial as to whether he can get past him quickly or not. So it is Dylan then from Bennett. It's then Sem and Lewis. Preds making up your top 5. They are all still yet to pit. Bunny in 6th is the only other driver that hasn't stopped yet in this race. Everyone else has, and everyone else, I believe, is on the hards. No, not, because Danny's on the mediums.
Interesting strategy from him. Not too sure.
I just knew that would happen as well. I knew someone would be on the mediums as soon as I said that.
Apparently Bennett's lagging, according to Panther. I don't know if you want to have a look at that. And also, Chex actually mentioned something I've completely not thought of. Could Bonnie possibly be trying to hold up Briggsy in aid of his teammate Dylan?
Yeah, that is a possibility. I mean, he'll have to hold him up a hell of a lot though, because Rigsy's only about 6 or 7 seconds off of him, and it doesn't really look like he's actually been that close to making a move on Bunny as of yet. It doesn't, at least as far as I can tell, seem like he's being held up too much at the moment, but you never know, that might start to occur as we go on here, as we've got Danny and Brindy battling it out. I think Brindy's just getting past the Red Bull driver here, but he's going to try and come back at him into turn 2, but he's not going to be able to on this occasion. So Brindy then up into 14th as it stands. I mean, a safety car right now would be huge for the likes of Dylan and even Bennett. The mediums maybe not quite able to go from this stage of the race, but only a few laps further on from here and the mediums could go. They can do about 20 laps, so that would be interesting to see. I guess it is now just this stage of the race where we're probably going to be waiting a few laps for these guys to pit, although it is about the pit window for the mediums. Then maybe someone on the mediums will go and try and get an undercut, but we're kind of just waiting to see what the real order of the drivers is once everyone's had their pit stops. And now Bunny's got DRS off of Preds, Rando, so Riggsy, even if he wanted to, I don't think he's going to be able to make a move now.
I'm not. So I'm just looking at this longer term. So the interval gap. Sorry, the gap to the leader now from Riggsy. He's 6.5 seconds off Dylan. The pit lane here is what, 15 seconds? I think?
Well, you probably lose about 20. You lose about 20 onto the pit stop.
Yeah. So he's going to have to be really flying on those hards when he does pit. Obviously, Rigsy's tyres will be far much warm.
Yeah, his tyres will be warm, but do you really think they'll be like 16 seconds slower throughout the rest of the race? I'd be a little bit surprised.
That's why I do soft. I mean, I don't really know what Dylan can do in this position. I mean, obviously Bennett and Sam are. I'm guessing they're going to do hard soft or hard medium. I suppose it depends on whether they think there's going to be a safety car or not. But yeah, at the moment, I can't see a way how anyone other than Riggsy or McEwen or this group can win the race, because, like you say, 6.6 seconds currently to Dylan is not a big enough gap to give him any chance of catching up come the end of the race.
Yeah, we've got Jib Jab actually, who's in net P3 with Connor net P4, so I think they might have actually swapped round. I think Jib Jab's gone past Connor and is actually showing some pretty strong pace. It'll be interesting to see if he can close up to the back of these guys who are now on the back of Preds. That will definitely be an interesting one, because obviously the more cars that are brought into play, probably the worse it is for Riggsy at the moment anyway, because he's the only driver in the top 4, in the net top 4 with a penalty, because he's getting very close to the back of Bunny now. This is really crucial, because Preds isn't going to be pitting for at least another 5 laps, you'd have thought, nor is Bunny. So Riggsy is either going to be stuck behind these guys for a few more laps, or he's going to have to get the move done and be a bit aggressive. But it's whether he really wants to risk that when he is currently still in a podium position. And in fact, these guys really aren't losing any time to Dylan, Rando. So I think it is it's more these guys playing the individual game rather than the long term, as Dylan's tyres probably are starting to go off now. I mean, he's done 15 laps on those mediums. I'm slightly surprised, it has to be said, that he's not pitted as of yet. But yeah, Riggsy using a lot of his battery here. I think he's trying to go.
Sam and Bennett were side by side there momentarily.
Quite close enough.
And Sam's got moved on.
Sam has got the move done, and that's an interesting one because Bennett and Sem both on the hards. In fact, Bennett was quite a way ahead of Sem earlier on in this race, but it looks as though he's perhaps dropping back a little bit, maybe not quite got the race pace that his start would have suggested. So Sem gets up into P2 then. Yeah,
so I'd expect Dylan in this lap along with Lewis.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. Like I say, I'm surprised Dylan hadn't pitted already, to be honest. As Ranga and Danny, they're both getting time penalties in unison, as they're still in a big train here. Liam's still being held up by Ranga. I'm sure he'll be sick of the Red Bull's gearbox by the end of this race if he can't get past him soon anyway. As Liam, like we say, he out-qualified Ranga, but he lost out to him off the start, and he's been behind him pretty much this close ever since. And Sem is pitting off of the hards already, and that is a very early stop, and in fact he almost missed the pit entry.
Why don't know
Sem,
what
very proactive. He's going aggressive, Randall.
Go on.
Must be the mediums. I mean, they can do 20 laps or so, but yeah, he's been really aggressive here, is Sem.
That is an aggressive strategy. I mean, if Dylan doesn't hit this lap, he's a fool or the smartest man in the world. I mean, I would have expected him to pit last lap, to be honest, let alone this lap. He's losing maybe.
Well, I would have expected him to pit 5 laps ago myself.
I suppose I mean, obviously he doesn't know the information we do, but maybe I know he's in a party with Bonnie, and maybe he's hearing, Bonnie's ahead of Riggsy, so in his mind he's thinking that Bonnie's holding Riggsy up. Whereas in reality it's less. I mean, I say that, 4/10 in the last 3 laps have been gained. Riggsy's now 7.17 seconds off Dylan.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's marginal especially compared to the
thing
undercar.
is, though, you see where Sem is. Sem's literally at the back. Sem is last place now, albeit on fresh tyres, but I think he's going to struggle to get past. I mean, there's a train of 4 or 5 cars ahead of him. I feel like he's really going to struggle to actually get past. And maybe that's what Dylan's doing, Rando, you think. Maybe Dylan's just trying to wait as long as possible to actually get out ahead of Ranga, who really does seem to be the cork in the bottle throughout the field here. As we've now got Lewis in the pits. I mean, it's going to be probably another couple of laps until we'll see any action with Preds and Bunny, as Riggsy's really low on his battery. We're queuing on 50%. I feel like it would be better at this stage of the race for Riggsy to save up some of his battery, because he's not going anywhere. And the car behind him, who is his immediate rival, is on 50% of his battery, so McEwen would definitely be in a strong position to go for a move. As he runs wide there, possibly picking up a warning. I guess that's the other thing to look out for. But Jib Jab is definitely catching up to these guys, as well as they are definitely now being held up by Preds. I think it's about 21-22 seconds lost in the pits, judging by how much time Sem lost, as Sem is actually past the clock already. So that's kind of the sort of gap you will be needing Dylan to have over Ranga, but it's not really changing that much anymore as he pits.
No, he's going to have to nail this pit entry if he wants. I mean, he's going to be coming out fighting cars, which obviously that's never what you want to do. It's the hard tyre as expected. I mean, the hards are probably the best race tyre, as you mentioned earlier. So I suppose he wants to avoid getting held up by Sem here. It's going to be touch and go. I'm watching on board with Sem. I think Sem's going to get past him, I think.
Yeah, Connor's
possibly not.
Oh, I need to go over. Yeah, Connor's lost another position to Van Dorn, who's also now closing right in on this group, as well as Dylan's going for the move on Brindy, but he's got Sem as well, who's going to get him. I think Sem getting the move on Dylan. Wow.
Yeah,
Very ballsy move there from Sem
can't help
to
but
get
feel
past Dylan.
a bit bad for Dylan as he came out of the pit. He was left very little room on the inside in which to go, and then I mean they're coming out in battle, and then there's coming out in a battle, and that was very much coming out fighting. And now if you're Sem or Dylan, you've got to get past these drivers as soon as possible. You've really got no choices. The B, as the great TRL Limitless would say, now or absolutely never. So one of them is just have to send it down the inside at one point or another, otherwise any hopes of finishing top 5 really is gone as Pred's pits.
Pred's pit, so this could be Bunny's, Rizzy's chance to get past Bunny, but Bunny has got DRS still off of Pred's. And he's going to get it again out of turn 2, so I think Bunny will probably be pitting next lap as well, or this lap even. So I think Rizzy's chance to really get any sort of breathing room from McEwen is all but gone. And now, well, he's lost so much time behind Preds that it's basically just allowed the likes of Jib Jab and Van Dorn to really close that gap in on him.
It's just one thing I've noticed.
It's really interesting, this battle from Ranga down, isn't it?
Yeah, I was just going to comment on that. Everyone except Dylan has below 20% ERS. So they're absolutely rinsing every last percent of battery that they have. Not sure at this stage whether that's necessarily a good or a bad thing. Probably if you're Sem, it's a bad thing. If you're Dylan, it's obviously a good thing. But they are fighting tooth and nail at the moment.
Oh, and Bunny stays out another lap, which is interesting, as does Bennett. McEwen's got 40-odd% of his battery, so he's in a pretty nice position, so he's used quite a bit there to keep in touch with Riggsy and Bunny, and I think this is probably going to be Riggsy's best opportunity to go for a move, but doesn't get the best of exits out of turn 1, and Bunny's going to hold on for now. I thought that was going to be his last opportunity last lap, but I think that might be it now. Although, well, I love to be proven wrong. Sem's past Brindy as well. Sem's surprisingly making some rather good progress, more so than I thought he was going to. He's past Liam now as well. So in fact, Sem's not out of a good result here, as he's only got Ranga in between himself and about 10 seconds of clean air. So as Ranga is lagging all over the shop and possibly disconnecting, I think Ranga has disconnected.
One driver,
yeah, I think you need to throw him an invite. I think you need to throw him an invite as leaves it at the back of him. And these cars all over the shop, and now Brindy's going side by side with it. Oh, this is going to get really messy.
I just saw that from the spectator view while I was sending Ranga an invite.
I think, oh, he's just driven off again. He's come back and driven off. I think everyone else has just about gotten away unscathed, as Bunny stays out another lap. So Rizzy's going to get another opportunity to go past the Mercedes, but again, not quite
praying
close
for a
enough.
safety car. I think Dylan's going to make the move on Brady Boy here. Brady Boy goes aggressive to the other side, as you'd imagine.
Oh, he has. He's missing an M plate. He's missing an M plate, Brindy. We hadn't actually seen that, but yeah, he's missing an M plate. As you see there, the front left, as he's going side by side, wheel to wheel with the Mercedes of Dylan, but Dylan is through and into P10.
See, let's just look at the gap between Connor and... So you've got Sem is currently 15 seconds off the lead pack, which includes Riggsy and the net P1. So he has some real work to do if he wants any chance of getting to that top 3 position. Oh, it just came up that Ranga's left. He's left again.
Yeah, no, he's retired in the pits, mate.
Oh, right, no. Some more notifications are coming through. I'm just stupid. Right, anyway.
And they're staying out still. They're not pitting. And Bunny, I think, now might even have DRS off Bennett, so any opportunity that Rizzy had is now gone. And in fact, there's a train now, in fact, for what is, I guess, the lead, with Jib Jab and Van Dorn both joining in on the action, as Jib Jab locks up into turn 1 and almost left the door ajar for Van Dorn to go for a move as Brindy Boy pits and receives a 5-second penalty. So he's obviously, well, he's getting rid of that damaged wing, but he's picked up a penalty for his troubles. And Danny as well, I think, might have gotten damage, and he's come in to the pits. So Van Dorn and Jib Jab then both now joining this battle for P1.
Yeah, I mean, it's imperative now that Sam and Dylan really change up a gear and move their asses. Excuse my French. Because they really, if they want to get going, they've got to get going now. And just on the battle for the lead, Rixie is right behind Bunny here, who I would expect him to pit now, surely, even if it's, I mean, the softs won't go 12 laps. So if he's going to go...
Maybe that is, yeah, maybe they're going on to the softs, actually. I hadn't really thought about that.
Bennett
pits, does he?
No, he
Bennett
didn't.
pitting there? No, he's staying out.
So I assume, well, talk about, I mean, Bunny could be the ultimate team player right now for Rixie, I suppose.
They've probably got to go, what, 2-3 more laps to go onto the soft? So I'd imagine that must be what they're doing at this point, as Bunny is right on the back of Bennett. I was worried I was going to miss an overtake there for the lead, but not quite. As you see, look how close the top 6 all are now. It's only a couple of seconds separating the lot of them.
We completely missed this. Dylan got past Liam. Completely missed that.
Yes, he did.
I mean, that's hardly to be unexpected given the tyre and ERS saving that Dylan.
The thing is, though, I can't see Sem or Dylan really getting any further than that, as if Sem's got good like 7 seconds, that is Connor. So I would be a little bit surprised if he can actually make any more inroads than what he's got here.
I agree.
Are we gonna? It's the every lap waiting for these guys to pit, and again they stay out. I'm sure Rigsby's going to be getting a bit frustrated seeing the back of this Mercedes for what's been, well, good 10 laps now at this point. Because again, he's running low on the battery. Bunny having a little look down the inside of Bennett, but never really looking like he was going to go for a move into turn 1. I think he's just trying to sort of suss out where the Alfa Romeo driver is a little bit weaker and maybe use that to his advantage later on, as these two are effectively in the same race, albeit for, well, probably close to last position. I'd imagine they'll be coming out in between Preds and Danny when they do eventually decide to come into the pits. It's Brindy Boy there, fastest lap, but he has pitted and is on the mediums. He's on fresh mediums after changing his wing. As it's an interesting one. There's still 5-6 drivers without time penalties, and there's a few drivers who've had quite a few now. I mean, even Preds has a penalty, which is quite an unusual sight. You don't normally see him picking up one, but yeah, we've got 6 without penalties, and then I think there's at least 2 or 3 drivers with maybe even 9 seconds. So it kind of shows the polar opposites of time penalties around here. Is Lewis has now left the session, so he'll need another invite. This is about the closest Rizzy's been to Bunny, but Bunny's going for the move on Bennett down the inside into turn 1. They're going to go side by side. Is this Rizzy's chance to get a position up on one of these two guys? Possibly, as he's going to, I think, push it for P2 into turn 2 on Bennett, but he can't do it. Bennett positions his car well, and Rizzy can't get through. So Bunny now takes the race lead from Bennett, and Rizzy's still in P3 with McEwen still in 4th, Jib Jab still in 5th, and Van Dorn still in 6th, as it has been for the last dozen laps or so. But Rizzy now getting very close to Bennett. It's the point of the race perhaps where he's been behind these guys for so long, you might start getting frustrated, and he's got to keep his head, he's got to stay cool and make sure that he doesn't go for a silly move, as he runs a little bit wide there through turn 8, and McEwen almost getting to the back of him, as Van Dorn almost hit the back of Jib Jab into the chicane as well, as these guys are so close to one another. Bunny is pulling away a little bit from Bennett already. Maybe that's Bennett's cue to pit, and yes it is Bennett's cue to pit, so he finally decides to pull off into the pits. Rizzy's going to have the DRS for this one lap, and he's going to have to work hard to get back into Bunny's DRS, because that will really be the thing that will give him any shot of staying ahead of McEwen. Of course, at the moment on penalties he isn't ahead of McEwen, but I mean, there's still a good 8-9 laps left to go in this race, so there's opportunities, as it were, for the drivers around him to get penalties, as he's got to try and get the DRS off of Bunny to have any chance, I feel, of keeping McEwen behind.
Oh, but we say
that
McEwen's got a pen.
So now Jib Jab is in the net lead of this race. Should he be able to stay within 3 seconds of Rigsy? Connor as well, Rando, is finally starting to catch the back of this group and make inroads. He was kind of just sitting around the 3-second mark off of Van Dorn for a long while in this race. He's now within 2. So Connor as well bringing himself into what could possibly be a podium position as well.
Indeed, things really starting to spice up. I think that's just, that penalty is really the result of, what would you say, 10 or so laps in close proximity to a Bonnie who has just entered the pits. Yeah. And it's that growing frustration.
I thought that was Bunny's cue to pit.
Yeah, it's just that, I mean, it's hardly a surprise, but Jib Jab now is going to be licking his lips. Don't do anything stupid.
Well, yeah, Jib Jab.
He could be on for the win.
Yeah, he's in pole position, as it were, to take this win. Rigsy then finally let into some clean air. McEwen, of course, still behind Rigsy, so he'll still be getting the dirty air. I mean, dirty air, the tyres getting hot, the engine getting hot. Like you say, it's not really terribly surprising that more drivers haven't got penalties, as we've now got we've still got 5 drivers without penalties. Then Bunny has overcut Bennett, strangely enough, or stayed ahead of Bennett despite giving him an undercut, which is actually rather surprising. I don't know what tyres Bennett's gone on to. Let's see if we can find them. Yeah, they're both on soft, so it's slightly surprising that Bennett couldn't really get an undercut going, as Rigsy has actually pulled out of DRS range to McEwen right now.
Yeah, that's bloody impressive. I'll tell you that. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure whether that's going to matter all too much. It's really going to come down to, can together Rigsy and McEwen pull away from Jib Jab. Now, I know we don't like to focus on penalties or whatnot, but they're really a factor in this race now. Dylan also and Connor, without time penalties, may be too far away to really benefit from it. Sem's gained about 3 seconds the last couple of laps, but not anywhere near the amount of time needed really to make their strategy work.
Yeah, I said Connor was starting to gain, but as soon as these guys got the clean air, they've pulled nearly a second to him already. So unfortunately, I think he's missed the boat with that one. Bennett with the fastest lap there, 15.7 for him. And Bennett and Bunny still in pretty decent positions themselves, possibly to get some points, as Preds now gets past clock to go into P9. So he's having a pretty nice race after starting P16 on the hards. So yeah, Preds up into 9th, getting past clock. He's up 7 from the start. As we see there, we've got Dylan. I think he's starting to close in on Sam, as we've lost the timings, which is slightly irritating. Let's see if we can fix that at all. No, it doesn't look like we can, so apologies for that. Wouldn't be Div 1 without some sort of technical difficulty now, would it? I think McEwen is probably still just about in DRS to Rigsy. There's 6 laps to go once he crosses the line. And no, he's not got DRS to Rigsy. So, well, this is his chance, as he's, well, just over a second ahead of the Haas driver to really try and pull 3 seconds of Jib Jab, as we've got Preds round at the penultimate corner. I wonder if there's been some contact, as Bennett and Clock have both lost a lot of time to Bunny. I wonder if there was contact there between the Alphas and Preds, as we've now got Bunny right on the back of Liam, and I think this is going to be a relatively easy move. Bunny on softs, Liam on hards with the DRS down the inside at turn 2, and he's made it past the AlphaTauri. Did you catch that, Rando, or
I did
we
not.
kind of just both catch the tail end?
Yeah, I just saw yellow flags flashing and went to see what was going on. But I mean, I saw they were in very close proximity, so I wouldn't be surprised if maybe someone tried to move in the penultimate corner and the door suddenly became very much shut in their face. Just an interesting note. I mean, I'm not sure about you, but I would not have predicted that Bonnie could be in a position to overtake his teammate come lap 30. Because
No,
I mean,
he's a pit stop behind him.
yeah. Like, that makes, I mean, not at all what I predicted. Not entirely sure what more Dylan or Sam could have done from their positions, but just hasn't worked out for them at all.
No, definitely. It's definitely been an interesting one of some unusual strategy calls and very close racing. To be honest, I don't think any of us could have predicted the field to look exactly like this at the start of the race as well. Reese's not really been able to pull away. McEwen's kept him in check, and Jib Jab's managed to keep in touch with these guys. So he is still in prime position to take the win. I think it might in fact be his first win in SLR as well, for Jib Jab. So that would be a feel-good story to start your weekend off, wouldn't it? If we saw Jib Jab taking the win tonight. I'm sure someone in the comments can correct me if I'm wrong.
Bonnie is going to get...
Summoners...
definitely going to get Dylan now. Oh, he's got a pen.
Yeah, Summoners in the stream saying Bunny's having a cracking drive, and yeah, he definitely is. A great recovery after spinning early on, and I imagine that Dylan will probably be obliged to let his teammate through to have to give him a chance of catching Sen.
Yeah, I mean, they in a party together, they're good mates. They very much are believers in Zydrad's Mercedes team, their team ethos, you know. So I'm sure he'll pull over, give him a wave when the time comes. But no, and to be fair, Bennett on a move with Liam into turn 1, gonna get that done around the outside. Lose a bit of traction, but that's a move done on the outside on Liam. So both of these drivers who were they were in front of the leaders at pit stop behind, now in P8 and P9. They've both done incredibly well.
Yeah, it's a really good recovery. The field spread is pretty big actually around here. Everyone's really kind of spread out throughout sort of half of the lap throughout this race, as Brindy and Danny still battling it out for what is the wooden spoon after both having to have an extra pit stop. Liam's still hanging on to the points then by the looks of things. Of course, we don't know the levels to the penalties. Some guys might have more than 3 seconds, but as it stands, he is still in position to a point, and it looks as though to get a point, sorry, as it looks as though McEwen is starting to perhaps push Riggsy a little bit, because of course these aren't necessarily battling for the win, should Jib Jab be able to avoid a penalty in the last 3 laps, but they are battling still for P2, so this will be one that McEwen won't want to give up too easily here. They go through, and he runs very wide there through turn 4, probably picking up another warning for good measure. You might be struggling a little bit with the tyres now, as they've been on them for what, a good, well, 25 laps or so.
Yeah, as expected, there was the executed let Bonnie past. Bonnie is faster than you. Their Mercedes, I can't see, McEwen's very close to Riggsy, but I can't actually see him making a move anytime soon. It's just so...
I'll tell you what, Brando, sorry just to interrupt, Jib Jab's nearly lost DRS to McEwen, and if he does that and Van Dorn gets past him, that could be huge for his chances of winning this race.
What about nearly losing DRS?
He doesn't have DRS, so if Van Dorn can get past Jib Jab, this could be imperative really, as McEwen's going for it round the outside of Riggsy at turn 1. He's going to go for the switchback though with the DRS. Riggsy getting a pretty nice exit, but McEwen then going for it round the outside at turn 2, but he can't do it. Riggsy defends the position well, but Van Dorn on Jib Jab down the inside. There's a bit of contact made, and they're going through turn 3, and Jib Jab has to back out as Van Dorn chops across the racing point and gets up into P3, and this is big for the race now, because Jib Jab has 3 cars in between himself and the victory, and that's put him on the back foot.
That was unexpected from Van Dorn. Could this possibly... touching at straws here. Give Riggsy the chance to win the race. I mean, it's going to be touch and go. If Jib Jab maybe loses the it's going to be a nail-biting finish.
Yeah, it was a brilliant move from Van Dorn to get up into P3, and as you say, it's almost now that it turned into the battle for P1 then between Riggsy and McEwen as they round the final corner then to start the last lap. Let's see, can McEwen get the run down into turn 1? It looks as though he's got a good exit. I don't think he's going to give this one up too easily either. He's definitely going to challenge down into turn 1. It's going to be a similar move as he tried last time with the switchback, but Riggsy defends it well and doesn't give McEwen the opportunity to get the switchback. He gets bogged down on the traction, and I think that's all she wrote, unless McEwen can somehow find a way through throughout the rest of the lap. Riggsy then holding on to P1 for now, but Jib Jab is still within 3 seconds of the lead, so it's not all over yet for his hopes of winning the race. So here we go then through turn 4. It's very close, they're all closing in again on one another. But I think, unless there's something tragic about to occur, it should be Jib Jab. But it's not over yet in this battle for P2 as McEwen is right on the back of Riggsy. He's pushing him. He almost loses the car there coming out of turn 8. And that was a heart-in-mouth moment as Riggsy, of course, 2 lap older tyres than the Haas driver behind him as they round then the penultimate corner. McEwen has a look down the inside, but it's more out of desperation than anything else. It is going to be Riggsy then to take the win on track, but it is going to be Jib Jab who takes his maiden victory in SLR Division 1. It's Riggsy P2 with McEwen 3rd. Connor comes home in P4 by 3,000 to Van Dorn, who is 5th. Bunny comes home 6th in the end. Good recovery from him with Dylan in 7th. Sem is 8th. Bennett a 10th off of P8 himself in 9th. And Liam rounds out the points. No, he doesn't. He loses out by less than a 10th of a second to clock, who makes it a double points finish for Alfa Romeo to take P10. But it is a maiden victory in SLR for Jib Jab, and what a way to do it. He put us on edge after getting passed by Van Dorn in the closing stages, but he held on within 3 seconds of Riggsy to take the victory from the Renault driver. What a drive it was from him, Rando.
Indeed, that was pretty spectacular. I must admit, not who either of us predicted to win the race, and I'm not sure whether from 4th place from Hungary he would have predicted himself to win the race. But it was a magnificent drive. He kept his cool, kept his head, didn't do anything stupid. Most importantly, didn't get a penalty, and yeah, well deserved P1. Other drivers of note: Bonnie from 14th to 6th, round Hungary, bloody impressive. To be fair, hats off to him. And yeah, to be fair, all of those drivers, Dylan, Sem, Bennett, all managing to clutch at something, and the big loser, Brindy Boy, his championship lead probably narrowing by 10 points, if that. He's got such a big lead, not sure it'll make too much of a difference. But no, a magnificent finish to the race, and we're very close to that.
Yeah, if you could get Jib Jab and Riz in the party, please. But yeah, brilliant race. It was action-packed throughout. Bennett as well getting the extra point for fastest laps. I'm sure he'll be pleased with that one. 3 points for him after what was an interesting strategy there. But yeah, brilliant racing throughout. And well, what a battle at the end there between the top 4. As it happens, Connor just edging out Van Dorn to take 4th. So pretty decent recovery from Connor, who didn't quite have the race pace to match his strong performance in qualifying. But there you have it then. I think we've got at least 2 of the top 3 in the party. So I'll hand it over to yourself, Seb, to do the podium interviews.
Okay, so start with you, McEwen. I've invited Briggsy, hopefully he joins. Assuming you ticked your box.
Yeah.
Well, where do we start? I mean, it was an impressive drive from yourself. I'm sure you were gutted when you saw that 3-second penalty pop up on your screen. How do you think it went from your point of view?
Yeah, probably my best race of the season so far. Probably what I was expecting throughout the whole season, but yeah, it just killed myself staying at that extra lap when Riggs pitted, and then obviously held up by Silly Bonnie and Bennett throughout the race. just killed me really. And then, yeah, like I said, the 3-second time penalty just ruined it for me.
Yeah, we saw you look for a couple of times for a move on Rixie. Did you ever consider going for a move on Rixie, or were you just content sitting in his DRS knowing that he had that 3-second time penalty?
I was when Bennett and Silly Bunny were in front. I was just happy sitting there. Then once I saw Jib Jab pushing on me, I knew I had to really go there. And then, yeah, that's where I picked up 3 warnings in the space of 3 laps, I think it was. I was clean throughout the whole race until then.
Oh, it was a magnificent drive, and you should be very chuffed with yourself, because I thought you drove excellently.
Cheers, mate.
Moving on to our second place man, the Flying Scotsman himself, Rixie. Cracking drive from yourself, pole position. I believe your first pole position in SLR all this season. At least this season.
It's the first altogether.
Oh, Rixie, honestly. The things I'd say to you if we weren't streaming right now. Oh no, but seriously, mate, cracking job. I mean, I'm sure it's gut-wrenching for you when you got that 3-second penalty, but just take us through your race.
Not really too much we could have really done, in fairness. The pole was nice. I quite liked that, but the start didn't really complement it. They seen McKean just kind of diving between the berries on the front row, and then through there it was almost as if we were on the back foot. So we had to pit early, and it's Hungary, it's traffic, it's just 2 things that are not really going to go in your favour. And everybody was on the alternate strat outside the top 10 anyway, as far as I'm aware. So we're always going to kind of run into that kind of trouble. And always having McKean behind us for so long, it was a bit of an issue because the penalty was quite early in the race. So we had to try and get a 3-second gap as quick as we could. We couldn't get by. We couldn't get by Bonnie. I swear I've been sitting behind him for like 20 laps, and I couldn't deal. And that's just the nature of the track. There was a couple of times where we were going to go for it, but he kind of put his car in all the right places, give or take, and I need to see it back. But he didn't really well to defend it, but it just really kind of caught us that traffic was always going to be a big pair, and it was a matter of getting through it quickly. And then we had McKean trying his hand a couple of times into turn 1, and because I felt like if we were going to get by Bunny, McKean was going to want to get by, and he had no penalty up until like the last 5 laps when I last checked. And then Jib Jab was closing in, Van Dorn was getting in on that, and the more the laps went on, the more the rage kind of started setting in. I'm not going to complain. That's 3 podiums on the trot. That's mere points for myself and the team. I'm not caring. I was only the one, but that's what it is.
Yeah, I thought you drove an excellent race. I knew, just a quick note before I move on to Jib Jab. We saw you attempt the mediums. You were the quickest driver on the mediums. You would have made it through. I mean, hindsight is a wonderful thing. You would have made it through on the mediums. Yeah,
100%. It is. Well, I was saying that, and sorry, you go.
No, I was to say, it would have been very touch and go. A few drivers who we would have expected to get through to Q3 didn't. So Dylan, Bonnie, Sam, Bennett, they all didn't make it to Q3. But would you have rather started on the mediums had you been able to get a lap that you felt comfortable retiring on and would have got you through?
100%. Would have wanted to start in the mediums. It would have been good to have the because I was in a petty with Preds, and like we sit and talk through the races anyway, and he was going to do it, and he was kind of guiding me through what's happening in Q2, and I was like, right, I'll go and source just in case everybody does change their mind. And I mean, hindsight is the wonderful thing, as you say. Like the mediums actually felt really good. The quality, the 1 lap pace was solid. Like I genuinely that's one thing I was quite happy about. The pace was solid on 1 lap pace. It was a matter of making the race work. But in terms of the mediums, I wanted to start in the mediums if I could, and we couldn't take that chance because we're trying to leave it as late as we could, and on the final run in Q2. But we couldn't because I did try to, but we mistimed it because we had We had Dillon going for another one. We had Bennett behind us going for another one, and they were two folk outside the top 10, and they took in through and sauce would have meant I would have been out. So I couldn't have took that. I couldn't have taken that chance, especially since I was in front of them, because we got the timings a bit mixed up. But mediums 100%. I feel like the mediums tires was the main strategy. Softs just died after like 3 laps. McKean was a lot better on his tyres, managed to stretch it, and the undercut wasn't even as impactful as I thought it was going to be because I literally just scraped by. So lucky to actually get people at the end of the day, but you take them when you get them, really.
Yeah, you should leave with your head held high, an excellent first ever pole position in SLR, and you know what, mate, you should be incredibly proud of yourself. Huge congratulations, well done.
Cheers.
And now on to the winner himself, Jib Jab, mate. What an excellent drive from P4. I mean, neither myself nor Ham expected you to win the race. From P4 in Hungary may as well be the back of the grid in terms of how easy it is to win the race because it's so darn hard to overtake. But you played it absolutely beautifully, not picking up a penalty. Talk us through your race.
Uh-oh. Classic. That's my trick, that.
Alright. Wait, have you ticked your box, Jib Jab?
Oh. Is it working now?
I don't know. Has anyone got the stream up to tell us? Alright.
Alright, anyway, mate, so take us through your race again.
Yeah,
Half
no,
of the
so
time.
yeah, no, my apologies. Yeah, so during the race, when Connor made a mistake, I got into third, which was good, and after that, I was just trying to avoid making mistakes. Silly Bunny and I think a couple of other guys held up Riggsy, which was awesome for me because I saw that he had a 3-second penalty. So I was just slowly catching up to them, and honestly, like I started getting really nervous when I saw that Callum got a penalty, and Van Dorn was coming up behind me. So finally, when Van Dorn got side by side, I just let him get by. Like I didn't want to fight it too much. Yeah, that's it. That's basically all. I just tried to keep it clean and avoid any mistakes, and I can't believe it. I really can't believe it. My first legal race win. I'm so happy.
I mean, mate, had I known that you would have driven the race you drove, I would have put you for the win every day of the week. I mean, I'm megally impressed, especially to keep your cool as well, to have that first race win, and like with Van Dorn battling you as well. You didn't lose your head, you kept your cool. I mean, huge congratulations, mate. Really well done. Hope you enjoy it.
Thanks, man. I mean, I was panicking pretty hard with Van Dorn behind me, but yeah, I guess I held it together long enough.
Oh, no, mate. Seriously, cracking job. Really, really well done.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, fantastic. And I think driver of the day as well. So I'm sure that tops off perfect race for you there.
Yeah, what a day. I love it.
So then, there you have it. A surprise winner in Hungary with Jib Jab taking the victory tonight, but it was a brilliant drive to get him there. He was joined on the podium by Riggsy and McEwen, both finishing ahead on track, but penalties were their downfall in the end. But in a weekend where the championship, the battle for the top, does close up ever so slightly with Brindy being outside of the points, it does mean that Riggsy and McEwen and the other drivers in that battle have closed up a little bit, so it does provide us with a bit of a more interesting championship battle as we now head into Belgium next week. Be sure to join us then, same time, same place, and be sure as well to join us throughout the rest of the weekend for the other various divisions and their races at Hungary. But thank you all for watching, and good night.